Hey everyone, welcome to the Village Films podcast. I'm Caleb, and as always, I'm joined by my co-star, David. So today we're going to be talking about, when it comes to your documentary, just creating a timeline that's realistic. This is just my opinion. I'm a filmmaker!
Are you guys videographers?
Who cares?
Originally, we kind of thought our project was going to take about 6-ish months.
Yeah.
Ended up not being that. It was like almost 2 years now. And so some of that is not setting realistic expectations. Some of that is our lack of experience with a feature documentary.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's obviously balancing in there, but why don't you just talk about why it took us that long and how we were able to work on just this project throughout that entire phase.
So like you said earlier, 6 months I think was our initial prediction for our timeline. Initially the scale of our project was a little smaller. I think we were aiming for like a 20 to 30 minute film, and then we ended up increasing it to a full-length feature.
It was a completely different format that we were going to do, and we decided that we wanted it to be bigger than that.
And so when we increased the scale of the project and shifted our format, we forgot to increase our timeline. And we forgot to increase our timeline, and we forgot to account for that in the budget.
We were learning.
You learn. If you're going to increase the scale of your project, make sure your budget goes up and your timeline goes,
Yeah, well, I mean, it sounds simple, but like if you're going from a 30-minute film to now a 90-minute film, that means you need more pre-production time. You're going to need more production days because you need more actual filming to cover that amount of time, and you're going to need more time in post. It's just kind of like a cause and effect.
Yeah.
So,
but I think the reason why it took so long wasn't because of the pre or the production. It was the post. It was the post, and it was the distribution elements that we actually had no experience in. I think walking into it, we were hoping we would get picked up by a distribution company, and then we ended up self-distributing. And so I think for pre and production, it only took us 6 months. 6 to 8 months, I think, for that. And so
right, but we needed more production because we ended up doing probably like a month or two more, but it was just scattered.
Yeah. I think what we would probably advise when you're making your timeline for your project, your indie film project or your documentary, whatever it is, I would definitely put some buffer time in there. So whatever you think it's going to take, give yourself another 3 to 6 months on it, and make sure you add that in your budget.
Yeah.
Because, when you go into something like this, especially documentary format, you don't really know what the story is going to be. Like, you can plan as much as you want in pre-production, but when you get to production, the story unfolds.
Yeah, you're following
and you shift.
it.
And so
it's completely different with scripted. Like, it's a lot more structured, and we also have no experience doing that, so we can't really speak to that. But we do know that, there's more we do have some experience.
Yeah, we worked on a feature film.
We do have some experience in that, but you're following a script usually, and you're being guided by that, and you have a story. With this, like you're saying, we were discovering it, so you need to, like you said, just add in more buffer.
So another thing that added so much time on the back end is when we were working with other vendors and contractors on our post-production side. So we had to work with the music licensing. That took a lot longer than we expected. We worked with an animator. That took a little bit of time. We worked with our legal counsel for all of our fair use and defamation stuff. Like, that took way longer than I was expecting. I mean, I think they told us initially it would take
Just
a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And it ended up taking like 4 or 5 months. And it wasn't necessarily their fault. It was because they were waiting on us to
They're
get
like,
them all
where's
this
your
information.
EDL? And we're like, one second.
And we
let
talk
us
about
Google
that in another video. There's a whole video on that. But so it you know, not shaming them or anything. It was on us, but I think going forward, having all that information up front, knowing that you're going to have to do these things, that will help create more of a realistic timeline. And so,
well, that's probably our lack of experience too.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, had we known about the EDL and known about that, and like, it's probably normal for it to take a couple of months, but we were kind of like maybe just expecting it.
yeah.
But they did tell us a couple of weeks, but I think the complexity of it, they just weren't sure of yet.
So generally speaking, you need to account for the other vendors and contractors that you're working with, because they might not be on your timeline. They're on their own timeline.
They might be working on other projects besides yours. And so the last thing we have here, which I think is probably the biggest one, is, you know, just creating deadlines for yourself, creating milestones. Because if you are an independent filmmaker, there's not a studio head telling you this cut needs to be this date and this and that. It's just you. And so if you just say, I'm just going to take my time and do this, it'll never get done. And honestly, if David didn't work at this company, there would not be as many deadlines and it would take a lot longer. So that kind of speaks to like how we accomplish this together, and it helps to have someone else. But maybe talk about the balance of that with like if you are also working on client work, because that can be difficult because you got to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
But you also want to finish this project you got going.
There's a temptation to always take the next job, because there's a fear of, if I don't take this job, there's no promise for that next job. And so I take what I can when I get it. But if you keep doing that, then your indie film or your project is always taking the back burner to it. And so it's just, it won't
hard.
get finished. You have to be intentional about working on it. And also, the more you delay it, honestly, I felt like the more passion went away.
Yeah.
Because when you're in the project and you're working on it full time, your mindset is there, your passion is there, the creativeness is there. But when you keep putting it on the shelf, it goes away.
It starts to like, you feel like you're in a desert.
Yeah, you just want to move on to the next project.
When you're first starting production, you're like fired up. And then when you're on your 14th month of the project, you're like, okay,
when is this going to end?
Yeah, so that definitely helps. And, you know, like I said at the beginning, we were able to work on just this project because we were able to have a budget that covered the amount of time. And even when we started to miss that timeline, we were able to get more support from our funders. And so that really helped too, because we never had to like flip that switch back on and go back to doing commercial work. And so, but it's a balance, you know, that's not going to work for everyone. You know, you may want to be juggling multiple projects, but I just hope that if you are doing that, you do have some help, because it's not easy to do if you're the one doing every single aspect of the project. So
it's simple. Just finish it. Like, just get it done.
Just do it.
Just do it. Just do it. Dude, how long? So when we were working on the trailer, oh my gosh. So Caleb's, you know, he's like, I do a lot of the rough editing, but then he'll come in and be the finisher. And so I was like, I'm just going to let you do the trailer because you seem like you know what you're going to do. I thought it was going to take him like a week, maybe 2 weeks top. And it took him like 3 months. And a lot of it was just
2 of those months were listening to music. No. 2 of those months was just listening to music for like 3 or 4 hours a day.
Yes, there was a lot of
music. You can only
music.
listen to so many songs on Music Bed before you're like, the song doesn't exist.
Yeah.
This film is done. We can't do it.
But it was funny because
David's like, just use this song. And it's the worst song you've ever heard. You're like, it's not going to work.
Honey, just show it to them.
I mean, I tried to find songs and help, and we did end up using the song I picked.
We would even search for songs together where we're just both listening to songs at the same time. Hey, try this one. I was like, all right, let me try it, but put it in there. Sounds good. But then you're like, this doesn't work. But it's not easy. It's not easy.
But anyway, the reason I was telling that story is because my contribution to that trailer was basically telling Caleb to hurry up. And at the end, when he finally got it done, I was like, dude, great job, man. You did a really good job. He's like, yeah, I know. All you did was tell me to hurry up. But if I didn't do that, we'd still be waiting for the trailer.
Yeah, maybe not. So what do you think is the besides what we wrote down, what are like the 3 bullet points without looking at that, if you were going to just say them at the end here?
I would say create realistic timelines for yourself with flexibility, because you're going to have to adjust. The second thing I would say is when you're developing your budget, make sure you put some buffer time in it. And the third thing is you have to finish it.
And the fourth thing is have fun and believe in yourself. If you've got a horror story about a project that went on for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, let us know in the comments, and subscribe to our channel like this. I'm not going to keep saying this stuff, but I feel like every YouTuber says it, so I have to do it. We'll see you guys in the next video. And remember, have fun.